need something that can get me some gains because I still need to make interest, but I also need something that I'm not going to lose my butt when we go through a correction like this. And that's usually where we come to these guys. So we love to talk about what's called an indexed account. So an IUL that is for retirement, that little part is very, very important. Kind of starts like this. So we use tax codes. I talked about taxes a lot, and I talked about how Uncle Sam created a problem solution. There are very few products that have the right tax codes that can let us grow our money the way we want. One of those is the tax code that involves life insurance. A life insurance account that is designed for retirement or for cash value growth or for cash purposes. So it's like a pie. When we put money into our pie, part of our money does have to go to the life insurance part. Most of it though is going to our cash value. We want to be able to have contributions that are post-tax. We want to have growth that's tax deferred. We want to have usage that is typically in the form of loan. There's no rules on income, so we have no limits on how much we put in. So if you want to save 10 grand a year, you can save 10 grand a year. If you want to save 8 grand, you can save 8 grand. It gives you a lot of flexibility there. There's no age rule. So the 59.5 rule is one that encounters a lot of people. There's also no RMDs, meaning if you don't need that money, Uncle Sam makes you start to take it. So if you don't need to use it, don't use it. Leave it in a place that can be left for the kiddos or charity or whatever you want to leave your money to. There is a pension option on almost all of these, which just means you can have a guarantee. Some of us want that guarantee every day till I die. There's going to be this paycheck on my front door, and that makes me happy. Some other people are like, no, I want some flexibility. You know, this year might be a vacation year, next year might not, so it might be a little bit more, a little bit less. Both are an option on them, and typically you don't have to decide that until you get there. We talked about being an indexed account, so Visa has that floor of 0 on it. I always tell everyone, if you think about building your retirement, your financial home like a real house, you need a foundation on your house. Because the Roth IRA is the closest kind of cousin to this in how they work. The Roth IRA has a limit on how much you can make a year and still contribute to a Roth IRA. That is part of the government-owned rules side that comes with anything with that IRA structure on it. There's no limits on this. There's literally millionaires that put in hundreds of thousands a year, real life. Now, the majority of us are actually in mutual funds if we kind of look at our population and we say, okay, people who have 401ks, IRAs, those things, where are most of those monies sitting? It's in mutual funds. So if the S&P 500 as a whole beat 95% of mutual funds, this is probably a really good example of what the smart market could do in a non-highly managed, totally different category of a conversation type of account. I'm going to use the S&P 500. So if we put our same $100,000 in and we ran it through the whole thing, we'd end up with $256,000 at the end of that 20 years. So an indexed account is going to kind of do what this green line is, but at the end it goes through, and at the end we have about $330,000. And where I tell people that this is beautiful is not that this one's bigger than this one. The biggest thing I want you to see is even with a 10% cap, it was able to beautifully keep pace with that. So giving up that upside is okay. $50 equals 100, and this is one of the most crucial things that makes no sense in any other math except this. So please don't teach your kids unless you're teaching in this instant. So we say we have our $100,000 and the market goes down 50%. So that's our 50. Where are we sitting at? 50,000. But then let's say it bounces back up and we're going to go up 50%. Now what do we have? 75, because we're going to go up that. So this is where, when we joke 50 equals 100, it's because if we wanted to get back to even, when we go down 50, we need to go up 100 to get back to where we even started. So when we go over and we look at corrections, let's talk about like 08, 09, the average loss in 2008 was an average of a 54% loss. So in that case, we would have needed over 100% just to break even. And while the market totally started pulling out, it did go up 100% that first year. And that's why you might hear people say it took them 5 to 10 years to get back to a place where they can make gains.
What would you say is your professional opinion to be important? The death benefit or the cash value when looking at an illustration? When it comes to using it as retirement.
The cash value all day long. If it's retirement focus. If you have no other life insurance in your world and you do have a family and kids and those things, we do want to make sure it's there. But a lot of times what we'll do is throw it so cash heavy, the death benefit's small, and we'll put some cheap term on it until it balances out and you can then self-insure. That's our long-term goal for most anyone, is that you can self-insure most anything for yourself. You can grow your cash and stuff to a point that you don't need to pay for the extras, that you don't need life insurance. But for most people starting out, they're married with a kid or two, they need some there, but a lot of times that's worth just doing some cheap term that we pay, $20, $30 a month for, and it's doing the death benefit, so we have money going to cash. So we really do want minimum going to that. It's a benefit we love having, but we are buying our tax code all day long, so that we never have to play that game again.